Hello, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary individuals, and anyone else I haven't covered. Welcome to Homestuck How-Tos, the place where the pros come to rage at my brush settings. For this first week of guiding goodness, I'm going to be covering a topic that I've been asked about quite a bit, and it also serves as a nice segue into more topics, as I'll be mentioning many things. What is this topic, you may ask? Fantrolls! Yes, the dreaded creature of sin that most Homestucks are afraid to come into contact with, the taboo Fantroll is a wild beast that's not easy to tame. Before we start though, I like to preface all of this by making it clear that this is all opinion based. If you've got a Fantroll idea you want to bring to life, then go ahead and do it. Don't let me stop you. All of my thoughts and opinions are based on popular consensus. So basically, if you want a large audience, whether you be an artist, author, role player, or what have you, it'd be a good idea to follow these guidelines. If you really don't care, then go crazy and do whatever you want. That's really what a fan character is all about. However, if you really do care about how big of an audience you're gonna have, let's start with the most basic of basics. All characters need a name, right? I mean, you're not born and the doctor just says, "Okay, little person." No, you get a name. And since we're talking trolls, the trend to follow is to make both the first and last name 6 letters each. Under most circumstances, the names have something to do with the troll's theme or have some kind of meaning, but it isn't always the case. Like, there aren't really any rules other than the 6-letter rule, but it'd be a really good idea to give your troll a name that's not too hard to pronounce. At least throw, like, 2 vowels in there. I mean, yeah, no. The naming is simple enough, but a large aspect of trolls is the Hemospectrum. The species features 12 or 13 different blood color casts, depending on your headcanons. But that is a very huge topic that's going to be getting its own video, so I don't feel the need to talk about it here. Because it's such a large topic, I'm only going to be making a mention of the things that you need to remember. The main colors we've seen are bright, unsaturated red, rust red, bronze brown, mustard yellow, olive green, jade green, teal, cobalt or cerulean blue, however you do your color theory, indigo blue, purple, violet, and fuchsia pink. Now, I did only say 12. The 13th isn't really relative to this video in particular, and I'm going to hold off on that until the Hemospectrum gets its own video. The purpose of the system is to determine social standing, with rust being the lowest and fuchsia being the highest possible, as there are only 2 fuchsia bloods ever in existence at one time. The bright red is considered a mutation, but it was still worth mentioning, more so than the 13th color, because it's more relevant. You see them a little bit more than the 13th. If you want a detailed explanation to help your decision, I think it would best be wait until the Hemospectrum guide is created. If you're just here for advice and want a quick little skim of things, I do have a few pointers regarding blood color. If you decide to make a yellow blood, remember that they will have psionic powers. An innate trait for all trolls of the yellow blood caste, and having a yellow blood without psionics is just kind of making yourself a massive black sheep. If they're going to be a jade blood, then they'll be a rainbow drinker, which is basically the troll equivalent of a vampire. A blandfire? Excuse me while I learn how to English again. And if you decide to make a fuchsia, as I've said, there can only be 2 fuchsia bloods on the planet at one time, and they all must be female. All 2 of them. The only ones you're going to have are the heiress and the current empress, because fuchsia is legitimate royalty. It's also important to remember that violet and fuchsia bloods are sea dwellers, so they have fins in place of ears on the side of their faces. And with that out of the way, let's move on to another subject. Blows. This is where the true creativity can begin if you are wanting to break out of the norm a little bit. An Alternatian's basic wardrobe consists of a black shirt with a sign on it, a pair of pants, and shoes. Real creative, right? Of course, you can add your own little touches. Jackets, hats, gloves, really anything you want. I would recommend you stay away from jewelry unless you're creating a sea dweller, but I mean, if you want a rust blood to be decked out in shining bling, go for it. It's what you want. One thing to always remember is that trolls, under most circumstances, don't wear any color other than their blood color unless they've gotten permission to. For example, let's look at Nepeta. She's got that cattail and the hat that are both in a very deep indigo blue. The only reason she can wear this is because Equius has given her permission to use that color. Some of you with great hearing and amazing retention may have realized I said something else. black shirt with their sign on it. Well, what the diddle dopper is a sign? Basically, all trolls are born with some kind of sign that signifies their bloodline. It's the closest thing they have to a family tree considering how trolls reproduce, which is also going to be getting its own video. The sign is always in their blood color when they wear it, and I say your best bet is to go with constellations, but there are only so many to choose from. A sign is usually more abstract than the symbol you'd see on a kid's shirt. I'm sorry for all my random English poops. But anyway, sign is usually more abstract than a symbol you'd see on a kid's shirt. So think like calligraphy, loopy lines and such, not solid shapes. If I were you, I'd avoid using the main zodiac as well, you know, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, you get the idea. Those are already taken by canon trolls, and by using them, you're basically defying canon, saying your troll is related to one of the canon trolls. Now again, it's your fan troll, you do what you want. I'm just here to give advice, and I feel like that's a good idea to stay away from the main zodiac. Personally, one of my favorite aspects of fan trolls is horn making. All of us who are familiar with ham steak know trolls have a pair of horns protruding out of their head, with candy corn coloring. No, little Jimmy, you can't eat their horns. I said no! Under most circumstances, the horns will have some kind of semblance to the troll's sign, such as Equius or Eridan, because their horns are basically their signs themselves, but in some situations, the horns will just go along with the troll's theme. For example, right now you're looking at my fan troll, Waya, as well as Nepeta. Yes, I know they're very similar. I don't even Anyway, you see that Nepeta has always been a cat-themed troll, and her horns resemble cat ears. My fan troll Waya here is very wolf-based, so I took Nepeta's horns, made them a bit larger and a bit sharper, so they can resemble wolf or dog-like ears. Of course, what's a troll without their weapon? You're gonna need a stripe specimen as well, which is basically a fancy way of saying what kind of weapon your character will prefer to fight with. Honestly, you can make anything into a weapon, really. As long as you put it into a general category and add kind to the end of it, you've got a specimen. Just as an example, say there's a troll who fights with a revolver, their specimen would be considered pistol kind. Or someone who fights with a halberd, they would have polearm kind. It's really not that hard to figure out. Of course, you can always get creative with weapons as well. You're definitely going to want to put some thought into your troll's lucis as well. Usually the lucis is also something pertaining to the sign or theme of a troll. In fact, pretty much always is, now that I think about it. Of course, there are countless possibilities for you to choose from, so have a blast thinking about it. Regular animals, mythical creatures, all those can fall under the category of a lucis, as we've seen many mythical creatures be lucii and not just regular animals. Now this is a bit tough. This is going to take some research if you really care about it that much, but your troll's also going to need a Classpect. If you really need help, take a look at some of the links I'm going to be putting in the description, as classes and aspects probably deserve 10 of their own dedicated videos to explain. Don't worry, that's a subject that's going to be coming up, but not here. I mean, really? Ain't nobody got time for that. Basically, the biggest thing to remember with class and aspect is that the class should reflect their personality, and the aspect will determine the nature of the powers they can obtain, should you be doing a troll that's played Spurb, or Scrub rather. And, you know, now that we've all got this under control, we gotta remember that while looks are well and good, remember that the biggest thing you have to tackle is personality. What kind of person is your troll going to be? What will they like? What will they dislike? And remember, the biggest thing about this is that there's a huge difference between human society and Alternian. Life is not the same precious, fragile thing on Alternia that it's seen as on Earth. Killing is tolerated. Heck, it's even encouraged. Those lower on the social standing ladder are also mocked and objectified instead of trying to get assistance. Chances are you'll probably have no problem creating personality traits on a troll that you'd have a hard time putting into a human character. And another thing to look at is typing. Most trolls will type using a text color that's the same, or at least very close to their own blood color. Some will choose to be Hemoanon, and these kind of trolls will type in gray. However, all trolls will have a typing quirk. They all have some kind of habit that will separate their typing from proper English. It can be replacing a letter with a number, putting a symbol before or after sentences. Heck, it can be as simple as typing in all lower uppercase. However, what you need to make sure of it is that the quirk, as with everything else, somehow fits into your troll's basic theme. The basic framework of a troll is honestly pretty easy to handle once you've broken it down into parts, and I feel like I've broken it down pretty easily and pretty simply. There's still a few pitfalls you should look out for, as these can always make or break a troll in someone else's eyes. A big pet peeve of any Homestuck author, artist, or roleplayer is a black or white-blooded troll. In fact, any troll with a color not on the Hemospectrum or a color above fuchsia is usually going to get ignored rather quickly. Now don't let this stop you from stepping into these fields of taboo, but be warned you'll probably get a lot less recognition if you do. Usually black or white-blooded trolls are immediately written off as bad. Over-the-top looks are also a down point, so try to avoid big suits of armor, overly decorated clothes, or way too many colors. These are all things that also have a habit of pushing people away, and so you're going to get a lot less readers, comments, and roleplay partners if you try to do these things. However, probably the biggest, most condemning issue of all time is illegible quirks. One thing to completely avoid under all circumstances is bright neon typing. Nobody is going to want to put up with that. And you definitely want to stay away from any kind of replacement that's longer than 2 symbols. It would be a very good idea if you're using a replacement quirk, to have it also be similar to the letter you're replacing. For example, using the number 0 for the letter O, or say, like 2 parentheses. Something along those lines that people can easily recognize and still be able to read what you're typing. Also, if I were you, I'd be very wary of fan-made classes and aspects. They tend to be way too specific, and there's pretty much always a canon class and aspect that already covers them in a broader sense. Oh, as much as I'd love to continue, looks like there's not really much more to say. I feel like I've created a basic framework of a troll already, and now you're free to go crazy and meld your new character completely to your liking. However, remember, as I've said before, my word is not law by any means, so don't think that everything I've said is a set of rules you have to follow. I mean, you know, not like someone's gonna come and beat you up just for being creative. Anyway, I hope this guide has helped you learn a thing or two, and if you did, consider subscribing so you can stay up to date with every new how-to each week. This has been Homestuck How-Tos, and I hope you all have a good day.